What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another edition of Wrestling After Show, coming at you from the After Show studios right here in the heart of the Mid-Atlantic territory. And we're going to be talking about some classic Mid-Atlantic Jim Crockett wrestling a little bit later on in the show. But first off, I'm Heath Haynes.
I'm Jonny Fairplay.
And we're just stoked to be here once again. Jonny Fairplay, you and I, we had a very rare public appearance, a public outing this weekend where we, you were appearing. I was just sort of there.
Yeah, you had the opportunity to appear.
I was there in a promotional aspect, but we were down at Burlington, North Carolina at the Revolution Wrestling Authority show. And I got to say, I haven't been to a local show like that in a while. I had a blast.
Yeah, peek behind the curtain. My play-by-play guy, Playboy Bob Keller.
Okay.
He runs the sound and he does play-by-play, and I do color commentary. And he had someone running the sound who match 2 was like literally wrote a note. I'm going to throw up. This is all on you. Bye. Out. So I basically called 3/4 of the second match, and Bob comes back and he's like, "Fairplay, what did you do to my equipment? I'm sitting here trying to plug stuff back up. You're pressing." I'm like, "I'm a born lever puller. I consider myself the Ringo of professional wrestling." And so in between matches, I run out real quick. I go, "Heath, you want to do play-by-play?"
This is a true thing. And I said, absolutely not. I'm having such a good time at the wrestling show. When I go to a wrestling show, I take my job very seriously as a wrestling fan, the fan in the street, if you will. Regardless of my opinions on whatever it is I'm seeing, I cheer the good guys and I vehemently boo the bad guys.
Yeah, I caught that.
And I was having a lot of fun doing it. Yeah, including you, which was funny, because I was sitting at the Jonny Fairplay Wrestling After Show gimmick table, and Jonny Fairplay gets introduced, and I didn't think he was getting enough heat, so I decided to make up for that, and I gave him all the heat I could. Yep. Relentless boos from this guy, and the fans in attendance were taken aback and a little confused. They were like, "But you're at his table." I was like, "He sucks. He doesn't pay me enough." And I
think I paid pretty good.
Everybody had a great time. Everybody had a great time. Looking forward to the next Revolution Wrestling Authority show where I will take up your offer of doing commentary. It's going to be Starcade 6.
Yes, December 8th in High Point,
North Carolina, where yours truly, the face in the crowd, the ace in the crowd.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
You just upped yourself a level.
That's right. I sure did.
You're
I'm the fan in the street. I'm the ace in the crowd. Double H. I'm going to be on commentary, the yin to this guy's yang. And we'll also be doing some promotion for Wrestling After Show, of course, at that time. But speaking of the after show, we're going to talk about some things today. We missed last week, but we would be remiss in our after-show duties if we did not cover the blow-off of the angle that we probably spent the most time talking about here on the show, and namely that is the big Hell in a Cell match with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. It went down, and I believe, if I can rewind the mental tape here, I believe a lot of my particular predictions involving that match did come true.
I literally called them out on the Pro Wrestling Boom podcast with Jason Powell. I was like, we had a checklist on what we would allow and would not allow.
Yes.
And
we wanted to see, what we didn't want to see.
And I was like, syringe. You said no.
Nope.
Plastic bag over the head. No.
Well, yeah, you know what? Yeah. If there happened to be, I think my thing was, the items I wanted to see were items that would actually be present underneath a wrestling ring in real life.
Yes.
And so, no cinder blocks, no syringes.
Yeah. We may not have said plastic bag.
Yeah.
So, but you no thumbtacks.
No thumbtacks. Did not want to see any thumbtacks.
So, but you're just like, I want chairs. I want tables. I'd like a toolbox
specifically mentioned a toolbox.
You know what?
Mentioned a toolbox.
I bet Drew McIntyre wishes you had not approved the toolbox.
We're gonna get to that and so much more. There's a lot to unpack in this match, but go ahead.
But I'm watching and it's all coming to fruition.
Yeah,
I mean, literally item by item in order.
Yeah.
And we get to the thumbtacks, and Drew McIntyre pulls out the bag, and I'm like, oh my God, you're ruining greatness.
Yeah,
this is so perfect. Why do you have to do the stupid thumbtack? So played out, no one buys it. It's horrible. It's just I can't stand it.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's not.
It's the beads for the stupid bracelet.
So the whole match. Well, first off, if you'll remember. My main commentary was I think we were going to see a level of violence that we are not accustomed to, and in WWE, a level of violence, a level of bloodshed, and boy, did we get both of those.
Yeah, but I felt it was palpable.
Well, palpable meaning
I wasn't watching it going, this is too much. I can't take this. So I watched
palatable. That's what you're thinking of.
Palatable. What did I say? Palpable.
You said palpable.
Palatable. Sorry.
Yeah.
But no,
not to correct you. I was just trying to understand. Yeah.
Sure. No. So no, I watched the show as it happened, and then fast forward to Sunday. I was at Lake Norman with a couple friends, and we're attempting to watch Sunday Night Football. And there was the lightning storm, so it was delayed. And they're like, and I was just like, you guys got Peacock, right? I'm just like, yeah. And my friends, occasionally watch wrestling. I'm like, check this out. And, I watched with a couple, male and female, and, in their 30s, and they loved it.
Well, everything was earned. Everything was earned in this match. And, if we step back for a second and talk about, violence in professional wrestling and bloodshed in professional wrestling, and, it has its place, and it has to be earned. And these guys, like I said in our preview, they did the work to earn that level of violence and bloodshed. And a little peek behind the curtain. Apparently, Drew McIntyre was not even supposed to get color in that match.
Oh, really?
Not even supposed to get color. And when Punk hit him with that with the toolbox, that was a hard way, and I'm sure at this point everybody's seen. I think it was 18 staples. I mean, split his skull.
Just gross staples.
Yeah,
but as I said, but I didn't watch the match going, this is ultra. Like, it wasn't like he took the pizza cutter to do it.
Yeah, no,
they didn't use the cheese grater. We didn't go through glass to get there.
Yeah, all garbage.
Yeah,
all the garbage. And as you mentioned, in lieu of the black velvet bag of thumbtacks, because I don't know if you knew this, but when you go to the store to buy thumbtacks, they come in that black velvet bag. Now. Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah. So that's why they're associated.
Okay.
So the black velvet bag, but this time not filled with thumbtacks, filled with the beads, the remnants, not the remnants, but the ingredients of the friendship bracelet that was that became the core of this feud for quite some time. And CM Punk grabs a chunk of those beads, stuffs them down the throat of Drew McIntyre, and then takes his chain-linked knee, performs to go to sleep. 1, 2, 3. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the two big bumps I think that everybody's talking about from this match. One was the missed Claymore, where basically Drew McIntyre took the bump that ended Shawn Michaels' career for a few years.
And similar to the bump, like the results of the bump that we saw during the Hangman Page Swerve Strickland match with the cinder block.
Right.
So, which was just like, oh my God, never do anything like that again.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, here's Drew McIntyre doing that again.
Just does it again. And then a great bump that and a great use of a table bump in this match was the suplex out of the ring through the table at ringside, and just seeing for a moment of, again, hats off to these guys, complete professionals, putting their lives in each other's hands and trusting each other with their bodies. Drew McIntyre, he gets him up, but he kind of has to turn him a little bit to get him get him down and through the table, and it's just like the strength that it takes to pull that off. I mean, we see these guys throw each other around on the reg, and you sort of lose perspective, I feel like, about the actual human strength that is involved in just doing some of this stuff. And to have a guy up in the air and then just decide, okay, I need to turn him just a little bit.
Yeah. And it's
amazing.
You lose a little bit with the matches, nothing but matches for the sake of matches for the sickos in AEW when you see these insane moves and they pop up right afterwards and just killing any believability or the selling, which is the art of professional wrestling. Like I didn't pop as big for that suplex as you did, just because we've seen so many times stuff like that. I remember as a kid when someone would go to suplex someone out of the ring, I'm just like, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Because they never do it.
Yeah.
And I think
because that would kill somebody.
Yeah. And I think the first time I actually remember it happening was Terry Funk and Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So WWE and I think Triple H is the biggest proponent behind this. Make all this stuff mean something.
Make it matter. Make
a cage be the define. Like start with Hell in the Cell and work your way backwards. We've now reestablished that Hell in the Cell is the end all be all.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Now make some of the other match types matter as much as we've re-legitimized the Hell in the Cell.
Yeah. So I re-legitimize a count out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was something back in the day to a count out. Like right now, if you saw a count out, you're like, oh God.
I never bought that because to me, I mean, you feel like you maybe didn't see a definitive end to the match, but if you're able to beat your opponent and pummel your opponent into such a state where they cannot get back into the ring, they can't answer the count. I think that that says something about you as a wrestler.
But that meant something in '88.
Yeah.
And like the 2000s or 2010s or it's just like oh, they didn't want to do a finish.
Well, what you're talking about is basically professional wrestling. Like at some point, the knowledge of how to perform it and how it should be presented was widespread. And different territories in the country did it. A little bit of different flavor in every area, but everybody knew the basics. And current product has gotten so far removed from that. It's like just go back to the old shit because it works and it worked for a reason.
Yeah, but you have to establish. I mean, you can't do it overnight. You can't go, hey. Today this counts.
Yeah, no, just
so you have to slowly re-legitimize.
Make it make sense and make it mean something.
Yeah,
it's not hard. Speaking of making sense, ladies and gentlemen, also as a afternote to the Bad Blood pay-per-view, we saw the long-awaited heel turn of Kevin Owens on Cody Rhodes, and we got to stop and talk about this for a second because the presentation of this was one of those moments in professional wrestling where it was so innovative and yet so simple. It's like, why have they never done that before? So for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, after the show in the parking lot, Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens are having a rather heated conversation by the Cody Rhodes motor coach, in plain view.
Liberty 2.
Liberty 2, because the other one burned down. And
The Rock
in
burned
plain view of some of the crowd in attendance. And of course, this is the 21st century. Everybody has a video studio, a video broadcast studio in their pocket. So like, oh, this is let's everybody. So everybody pulls out their phone and they're shooting this thing, and then Kevin Owens turns. You get immediate crowd reaction. Some security comes in after a moment of Cody getting the boots put to him, and then people start posting it. If people weren't already just streaming it live, so WWE has an instant viral moment of which they put $0 into production value.
And you didn't have their cameras there just in case no one got it, because someone's going to get it. Society as a whole. Because if they had the camera, they're like, "Ooh, maybe we should have a camera backup just in case." That kills everything.
Yeah,
you got the light set, the light set up, and then and then it's like, okay, cue Kevin and all. That's garbage.
Yeah, no, the way they did it, like I said, was perfect.
Because the lighting wasn't perfect, but it was perfect in that it was real.
It was real, so innovative, and and it goes back. Vignettes and backstage segments have become as much part and parcel of professional wrestling as an actual match. Nowadays, it didn't always used to be that way, and I find, to this day, the segments and the backstage segments that are the most compelling to me are the ones that harken back to the way they used to do it in the old days. So if we want to go back and talk about before Starrcade 1986, and you know where I'm going, Dusty Rhodes getting his arm broke in the parking lot of Jim Crockett Promotions by the Four Horsemen. Now it's all captured on camera, but the sort of the guiding force behind that is J.J. Dillon from the Four Horsemen has hired a camera crew to document this. And he repeatedly talks to the camera guy, make sure you're getting this. Make sure you're getting this,
So, and it's almost like the guy is reluctantly there.
Oh,
like he's being paid. He's just
hey,
like,
I'm paying you.
Yeah, and the guy is just like, look, you're beating up Dusty Rhodes here. It's just like, I know what we're like. Oh, that
and JJ Dillon knows the camera's there the entire. And we as viewers understand that the camera's there. And so many of these segments, I find myself at did they know that these two people that are talking in front of a camera right now, do they understand that there's a camera right there? And I would just like to have. That's why interviews are great, and because if shit happens during an interview, like Jackie Redmond is sitting here interviewing Sami Zayn, and then Braun Breaker comes in, and we capture that moment on camera. Well, there's a reason for the camera to be there.
I love the reason. So, and for those of you that are just like, okay, now you guys say you like the old school stuff. You're like, okay, let's say it's 1996, and we're watching professional wrestling. All right, so peek behind the curtain, folks. This is literally how Heath and I watch wrestling. We watch at an angle. This is where we. So you would think it would be more comfortable, Heath, if we had the chairs on the other side. No. We sit just like this and
with
watch,
the camera on us at all times
and watch Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, that's how it's done. So that
we stand.
But that moment, that Kevin Owens heel turn was beautiful, and it parlayed perfectly into a great segment on this week's SmackDown. Okay, we've talked about all the super old stuff. Now we're just going to talk about stuff from a couple of days ago.
And you know what? I think wrestling is good enough right now that you can talk 2 weeks ago and it still means something.
Oh yeah, especially with that Hell in the Cell match, that we had to talk about that. But moving forward, so KO shows up on SmackDown, and one thing I've noticed in this whole sequence of events is KO is obviously a little bit chafed at Cody Rhodes aligning himself with Roman Reigns, however temporary it may have been. And, he was not super happy about it, but he was not able to voice his opinion. Every time he got a microphone in his hand, and was ready to, be like, okay, state his case, if you will, he was getting cut off. So this week he's done the turn, and he shows up, interrupts the introduction of one of my favorite tag teams from NXT, Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend, one half of Meta-4. They've got their big championship tag team match coming up, and here comes Kevin Owens butting in, and I'm not supposed to be here, but I've got to say this, and everybody says I'm in the wrong. I'm not in the wrong. They're in the wrong. Mike gets cut off because it would. Yeah. If you just show, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Yeah. They're going to, jumps over on the broadcast mic. Here comes Cody. Everything's heated. And it eventually leads to him beating the snot out of Randy Orton backstage, which they also ended up posting the security cam footage of that. And I love security cam footage because, once again, why is there a camera there? It's the security cam. Yeah. So there you go. And so
TNA experimented with that when Eric Bischoff took over at TNA. He had Jason Hervey there with him because they had Bischoff Hervey Productions. They did the Scott Baio is 40 show or whatever that deal was.
They did. Yeah, they partnered on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they did a lot. They're no longer partners. Okay. There was a falling out.
Okay.
So, but they did the paparazzi cam. With Alex Shelley.
Okay.
And they use that as an excuse to show backstage stuff that shouldn't be shown. Yeah. And I like that.
No, that's great. If there's a reason for the camera to be there, that's all I need.
Did you see the additional stuff on Instagram and WB social media with The Miz and R-Truth?
Oh, no, I haven't seen that stuff.
So
is it after Raw from
it was additional. Well, they may have shown it during Raw, but it wasn't part of the show proper. And so it's The Miz. He's just like, look, here's why I want this match with R-Truth. And then you have R-Truth going, hey, man, I've been trying to call you. What's going on?
Oh, wait, I did see that.
And he walks off. Yeah. And then he goes, so here's the reason. And then he's like, hey, Michael, why are you talking to me? And he was just like, oh, and then he's like, so here's the reason. He's like, do you prefer Mike or Michael? Is that the problem? I said Michael, you prefer Mike? Yeah. And he, and then he goes to the bathroom, brings the camera guy into the bathroom, and he's like, okay, so here's the reason. And Truth's looking over the thing.
See this. Yeah.
And Truth's looking over the stall, and he's like, man, he goes, what is the problem? Is it Mike or is it Michael? And I ain't seen nothing. I won't looking. And then finally they're about to go to the ring. They play the music. Yeah. And he goes, he's like, good thing I found you. I got a match. Will you come to the ring with me?
Yeah. I need to find that. Send that to me.
It was fun. I mean,
and comedy and wrestling, we've talked about this, as much as violence and bloodshed in wrestling, when comedy is warranted and works, it can be great.
So, who knew that Truth could still be like? I mean, because there was a time in which the Truth character was more like Tozawa.
Okay,
and I hated it. Mm-hmm. We have passed all of that. I look forward to the Truth.
He's meta now. Almost.
So, he's meta. And enough, the correct amount.
Yeah. So we finally had our Kevin Owens heel turn that we've been predicting
or not predicting.
Yeah. So obviously we're not going to get my scenario that I was talking about, where everybody does a beatdown in the middle of War Games. We got the KO turn, and he's turned on Cody and Randy. Yeah. Does this put a Randy heel turn sort of up in the air?
Is that in limbo now?
Or do you think it still happens?
I mean, how does it not happen? Okay. But how do you get there?
Right.
Is it? I mean, could we live with a Randy, KO, Cody three-way dance where they're all at odds?
Well, but
does that blur the lines?
No, that's a proper setup for a triple threat match. Is all three guys have beef interspersed with themselves. I don't like this guy doesn't like me, but he also doesn't like that guy doesn't like me, I don't like him, this guy, and so
it's like the Spider-Man thing.
That could exactly. So that actually could be a believable setup for a triple threat, other than like, well, this guy gets a title shot, this guy, I don't know, let's both give them both a title shot. That's a way better scenario that you're presenting. I don't know that we get it.
But if we
Randy
do
heel
that,
turn,
where does it shake out? I mean, like
exactly.
Because right now with just what we have, it shakes out. Cody's the good guy, KO's the bad guy. Well, if Randy turns, and there's this whole thing, like it's just like, okay, does it shake out? They're just both bad guys.
Well, if we're looking down the road, I think a KO and Cody match would happen at Survivor Series. Which would take Cody out of the equation for any sort of actual Survivor Series match.
Yeah, I think that's off the table.
What does Randy do until then? Around then, he's just sort of, maybe that happens at Survivor Series. I don't know. This is the reckless speculation portion of Wrestling After Show. I don't know if Randy turns. I think. I just said I don't know if he turns, and now I'm getting ready to say no. I think he will, but I don't think it's. I think that they're gonna
through this.
They're gonna get through that, and they're gonna keep it in the back pocket because again, there's always an echo of Dusty, and his struggles in how they book Cody, and if you paid attention to Dusty Rhodes and his career for any amount of time, you realize that at some point everybody turned on him.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as Sting.
Yeah,
Sting had no friends.
Well, and Sting was sort of like, oh, well, you had that coming, because it's like, how many times are you going to fucking trust Ric Flair? You're so stupid.
Ric Flair and Lex Luger.
Yeah,
I mean, like they just took turns. They're just like, hey, can I turn on this? No,
but Dusty, it was like every time somebody turned on, it was like, oh no, that came out of nowhere.
Man, like that was your boy.
Yeah,
I mean, and Dusty was also, because Dusty, just the longevity of Dusty Rhodes. You looked at like a 10-year friendship that had gone astray.
Yeah.
Versus, Sting would make a friend, and then 2 weeks later,
One of the questions often asked about the 80s NWA Jim Crockett Promotions is, one of the biggest what ifs is what if Magnum TA had not had a car crash? What would have happened? And the one thing we can say for sure is
he would have turned on
Dusty Rhodes. Yeah, he would have.
And then he definitely would have taken that WWE deal.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, but first he would
have been the bad guy, Razor Ramon.
He would have definitely turned on Dusty Rhodes. So that is some of. Well, we got to touch on our bloodline stuff,
sure,
because this is that was part of Bad Blood. We saw the return of Jimmy Uso. And another super compelling opening segment this week on SmackDown with Jimmy Uso in the ring, cutting a great promo. We've seen Jay, obviously working his verbal stylings on the microphone for quite some time.
A little more cookie cutter.
Yeah, but Jimmy shows up and it's from the heart, and then Roman gets in and. Acknowledges Jimmy. And I love that. Is the Big Jim nickname, is that new?
I've never heard Big Jim.
I love it. Big Jim.
Big Jim Stud?
I always think, Big Jim he was actually not a precursor to G.I. Joe. He ran alongside G.I. Joe, which was manufactured by Hasbro in the 1970s. Big Jim was Mattel's answer to G.I. Joe. He was a little bit smaller, oddly enough.
Yeah, you would think Big Jim would be
Big Jim. Yeah. And so I love the Big Jim nickname. Roman Reigns comes out, acknowledges Big Jim, and starts to reminisce about the good old days of when the Bloodline. We had all the titles. We had the money. We could just do everything we wanted to.
They didn't talk about the women like the Horsemen would.
No, they didn't. But we had all these things, and we don't have it right now. And I don't like that. But you know what? we're still awesome. We're still the ones, yeah. And then Jimmy with the reality check, he's like, yeah, but we're not though, dude. We're not.
We ain't got the belts. We don't.
And
Solo's got our dressing room with better lighting.
We need help. And then obviously the crowd, yeet. And then with 2 words, Roman Reigns just dashes the hopes of the SmackDown audience.
Yeah.
No yeet.
No yeet.
No yeet.
Yeah. Which was Jimmy's T-shirt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no yeet. Yeah.
That did not sell half as well as the yeet shirt.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I feel like Jimmy's promo was immensely better than the than the current incarnation of the Jey Uso promo. Jay's selling T-shirts.
For sure. Yeah, it's catchphrases.
Jimmy ain't trying to sell a T-shirt.
Yeah, no, Jimmy came out and cut a, from the Heart promo and leads to a match with him and Solo later on in the night. And predictably, it's a bloodline match. Everybody gets involved. Roman comes out. Then they kind of chase everybody away. But then again, Jimmy reiterates, we need help. Yeah. We need help. And so he showed up on Raw last night. And we didn't get to see, because they knew the camera was there. They weren't giving anything to the camera. They obviously knew the camera was there, and Jay firmly renounces his bloodline ties and says, "No, I'm not. I want to have anything to do with this." And so I think we're going to get to see. Hopefully, what this is leading to is, I keep talking about the Roman Reigns hero journey. Yeah. And possibly showing some, just
a little humble pie.
Yeah, a little humble pie story of retribution. And I think it's gonna take Roman Reigns actually approaching Jey Uso and admitting his faults.
Or is it the wise man first, and the wise man does the wise man get it done, or does Roman get it done?
I think it's going to mean more coming from Roman, and it's going to mean more.
Do we see no Heyman in any of this? And then that's when we get Heyman with Braun Breaker and Braun Strowman, or not Braun Breaker and Brock Lesnar.
I mean, that is some super fantasy booking way down the line. Right now, I think.
Do you leave Heyman out of this?
I think the pieces fall into place appropriately and as they should. And
with or without Heyman.
And I don't think Heyman is necessarily a piece in this story.
I don't think so either.
Quite yet. Yeah.
Why if do we need a babyface Paul Heyman running around?
That's what I keep saying. We
don't need it.
And I think, and obviously he is, still heavily involved behind the scenes.
Great.
And
he's earning his money
in this story. But no, I don't think we need Heyman on screen.
It's like Jimmy Hart with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Again,
it's a hat on top of a hat.
It's a baby face manager. It's fucking it's pointless. So I don't think we see him down the road. I mean, ideally, or what I would like to see is an overture to Jay to get him back aligned with the bloodline. But he's got his Intercontinental title, but he also has his hands full with a returning challenge from Braun Breaker, and I see Breaker getting that belt back.
Yeah,
which would free him up to do that bloodline stuff.
Or maybe he skates. I think eventually it's going back to Breaker, but maybe he skates through Breaker this time. I see the bloodline costing him that championship.
Okay.
And
then that gives him the end to fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. Okay, so once again, this might as well be a fucking recurring segment on the show because as many times we talked about it.
The Wyatt Six.
No. Yeah. Bloodline, tribal combat, war games. Are they going to get it together in time?
Yeah.
You think I go back and forth every week. Like, I don't know if they have time.
Well, no, because the only reason we were fighting that because it was just like, are you just going to do a star-studded team of
Cody, Roman, KO, and Randy.
Yeah. That's off the table.
Yeah.
So we got nothing else about that.
So that's going to happen.
I mean, do they go after Sammy first, or is Sammy the last piece?
I am questioning whether Sammy will be a piece of it at all. And I understand why he could and possibly why he should, but I think we might see the introduction of
Hikuleo.
Yeah, Hikuleo or somebody else, because you got this bloodline 2.0 with the main X factor being Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
Well, okay, now we got Jimmy Uso, we got Jey Uso, we got Roman Reigns, and now here's our X factor. Here's our young gun that's going to come in who's unpredictable and wild, and yeah, that could be Hikuleo. Whereas, with Sammy, his role, with the bloodline, it verged almost on comedy for me. It definitely had comedic elements, and I don't think there's any room for that with this story.
I'm okay. Like, I love Sammy.
I do too.
And I think Sammy's a great wrestler, and I think there's a believability factor, and I think there could be some fun, and I think the hugs mean more when Sammy's in
the hugs and the daps. The daps are incredible.
Yeah. But so. And as long as who's Tongaloa? Which one's good?
That's up for debate.
Which one's much worse?
Tongaloa.
Is okay. As long as the finish of the match of War Games, has Tongaloa and Sami Zayn tied up in a corner together and is not part of the finish, I'm cool with all this, and Sammy can be involved.
Okay.
It's Jonny Fairplay, reality TV icon, Survivor Hall of Famer, and I'm talking today about Work Money. Work Money is a non-profit organization that focuses on lowering costs and raising incomes for all Americans to make American life more affordable and American families more economically secure. They provide products, services, perks, benefits, tips, and tools to help members improve their financial lives. It's time to level up and make more money in this economy. We're talking getting rich. Now, this sweepstakes is giving away $50,000. You can use this to pay your rent, your mortgage. Imagine what you can do with all the money that you'll save. Now, this is put on by Work Money, and this site has all these sick benefits, and it's free. Go sign up right now and get more rich. Now, listen, you can change your life. Now, what would you do if you didn't have to pay your rent or mortgage for a year? Listen, sign up right now for free. Link is available right here in the show notes. Check them out. Personally, I'd get more pinball machines. I'm Jonny Fairplay. I wouldn't lie about that. It's Work Money. More money.
Are you okay with that?
I still don't know because Sammy's character has gotten a lot more serious since then too. So but I
don't need him involved in the finish.
It makes sense and it might work. So I'll give it a passing.
But don't
grade.
you want the finish not like the finish needs to be Roman quits or like something or someone of the higher scale loses War Games. Well, I don't need Tongaloa or Sami Zayn to be the deciding factor.
No, they're cannon fodder. Of course.
Yeah. If it's Jacob Fatu threatening to break the arm of Sami Zayn, I'm like, do I?
Well, what I want to see in this whole thing is, I think Roman Reigns should fucking eat shit until WrestleMania. I think if they do tribal combat, I think the Roman Reigns OG bloodline should lose. Yep. I think, and just keep adding adversity and piling on, the obstacles.
And Jey eats the pin without the Jey eats the pin. Or Jey,
possibly, but
Roman watches.
Adding odds, adding adversity, obstacles to. And keep adding more steps to this hero's journey that I'm talking about So
or Jay gives up for Roman, like they're gonna break Roman's arm.
What I'm talking about is the bigger picture of the bigger picture of the story. So we're gonna have this tribal combat at Survivor Series, and it's gonna settle once and for all who is the real bloodline.
Good guys lose.
Good guys lose, and but then okay, well, no, now we need another step, and it's like, okay, well, at Royal Rumble, Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns for the Ula Fala, and Reigns seemingly wins it,
but
then The Rock shows up and is like, he's not the tribal chief. I'm the tribal chief. Yeah. I'm the head of the table. I'm the final boss. And then just like keep putting shit in front of Roman Reigns. Kind of the way
moving the football.
Kind of the way they booked, moving those goalposts. Kind of the way that he was booked in his previous babyface run. Yeah. Because it was just like, adversity. Let's just keep putting adversity on Roman Reigns. The thing is, back then nobody bought Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And so you could put all the adversity in the world in front of him, and nobody was going to get behind him. But now, do that same thing, and everybody, it's like just the sympathy and the momentum is going to build more and more behind him until we get to that, whatever that. And I'm thinking WrestleMania main event, The Rock and Roman Reigns for Tribal Chief.
Don't need Cody Rhodes?
Don't need Cody Rhodes. No title, no nothing.
I don't need Cody Rhodes in that either.
No, man. The Rock. And the Rock is gonna present it to Roman Reigns. You're out here, you're trying to talk about winning championships, and you got to put your house in order. Your house is not in order. Defeating The Rock is what's going to put that house in order, and that's going to enable Roman Reigns to move past that, reestablish himself as the head of the table,
then it's Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior,
and then he can move forward.
Then it's Cody versus,
if Cody's even still the champion at that point, because I see Cody having a year-long reign, and whoever his opponent is at WrestleMania,
I can push
off of him.
I would
a little bit past a year.
I would have. SummerSlam is fine, and SummerSlam is WrestleMania. Hogan versus Warrior, Cody versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah, okay, I dig it.
It's a two night SummerSlam.
That's right. Reckless speculation. The hallmark of Wrestling After Show. Bottom line is, whatever they decide to do, I trust the process, and I think it's going to be awesome, and I'm 1,000% along for the ride.
Absolutely.
Moving on to our Crockett Classic of the Week now. Stretching out a familiar sight there as you see the which era of, it's Fabulous Freebirds, Jimmy Garvin and Michael P.
Jimmy Jam Garvin.
We're going to be talking about
gorgeous.
Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, the era of Jimmy Garvin preceding this era by a couple of eras. And we referenced this in our review of the WWE Vault presentation of the house show from the Omni in Atlanta from early February. And if you remember, one of the matches featured was the Midnight Express versus the odd pairing of Robert Gibson and Ron Garvin, Hands of Stone Ron Garvin, taking the place of an injured Ricky Morton. He fell off a ladder.
A ladder working on his trailer.
There it is.
It's the rumored innuendo.
And I commented at the time where this is just part of the relentless campaign that Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express embarked on in early 1987 to just generally fuck with Ronnie Garvin.
Yeah.
And
which I was for.
I think it goes back to Ronnie Garvin fucking with them in drag as Miss Atlanta Lively at Starrcade 85.
Yeah.
So maybe this is they're just like, you know what, we're tired of this guy getting dressed up in women's clothes and fucking all our matches up. So we're gonna take out Ronnie Garvin, which we saw a little bit of in that event. So, and we mentioned this, our Crockett Classic of the Week today takes place in the month of February 1987, just shortly after that house show. And it's on an episode of NWA Pro Wrestling, which was the I've heard it when I was a kid. I always felt like Worldwide Wrestling was more of the A syndicated show.
Yeah, we had Worldwide Wrestling. I can't remember what channel that was, but it's crazy. The YouTube feed that we have for this, and we have the link in the show notes, was that there was an NWA Pro show that was from WRAL Raleigh, that we still get today, and that's what we got back in the day. Was WRAL.
Yeah. Well, I always watched NWA Pro Wrestling on WXII Saturdays.
Oh, Channel 12.
Yeah, Saturdays at noon. But they would the schedule. They would tape NWA Pro, which previously was known as Mid Atlantic Wrestling. They would tape NWA Pro and Worldwide.
Yeah. I always thought Worldwide was the bigger
at the same time. I always thought Worldwide was, but I've heard it switched around. The commentary was definitely better on Worldwide because the commentary for this match. Okay, so.
This is all. This is the extent of my notes. Was I hate Johnny Weaver and Bob Caudle? Yes, I said it.
NWA Pro Wrestling from February 1987 for the United States Tag Team Championships. The challengers, Jim Cornette's Midnight Express versus the champions, Barry Windham and Hands of Stone, Ron Garvin. Which this was one of the, you can't say rare occasions, but about once a month, they'd put sort of like a main event TV match on one of these shows.
And this is the main event, and literally during the commercial break, and I wish they had the commercial for it. During it's just like, we're heading to a commercial, and we're going to talk about the wrestling coming to your area. And that's when they go to
promos.
They do the promos. It's just like Dorton Arena, Raleigh, North Carolina, brother. Let me tell you. Oh, and I get what you saw last week. That's nothing compared to what I'm going to do live in Raleigh, North Carolina. So they would build it up, and you'd get a halfway payoff for half the shit. But
it's house shows. Kick the can. That's the name of the game. So here we are on TV.
Well, hold on, Johnny Weaver.
Okay,
Bob Caudle.
Okay, yeah. So here we are on TV with a championship match, and immediately we are reminded of the commentary team for NWA Pro Wrestling, Bob Caudle and legendary Mid Atlantic wrestler Johnny Weaver, and it's weird because when I was a kid, I didn't like either one of them.
I didn't either.
Now Bob Caudle has some charm.
He's got a piece of your heart.
He's got a piece of my heart.
Yeah.
Johnny Weaver on commentary is still insufferable.
He's the shits.
Not even word salad. Just he can't complete a fucking sentence.
Oh my god! And when he does, he gets it wrong. But don't worry, he's going to come back and fix it.
Yeah,
so we have to wait an extra 30 fucking seconds for his garbage commentary.
All right,
and then when I was a kid, hold on real quick, Dusty Rhodes got taken out by whoever at the time, and he came back with the Weaver Lock.
The Weaver Lock, that's right.
Johnny Weaver timed the Weaver Lock, which is just the sleeper, and Dusty had used it forever anyways.
Yeah. No, it's the Weaver Lock, baby.
The Weaver Lock.
I put the Weaver Lock on you. But my dad to this day still references the Weaver Lock.
The Weaver Lock.
Oh, indeed, and yeah.
And we had Truckin' Tom Tuna doing that.
See, that's another thing. I love Tom Miller, and I love how he introduces the tag teams. He was like Barry Windham and his team partner. Yeah. He always says his team partner. Yes. The match, as you would expect, is tremendous. Barry Windham selling his ass off.
Oh yeah.
Little bit
of a flash of fire early with the 8 drop kicks in a row, and that was the Midnight Express fight because the whole great deal with the whole deal with a great heel is feeding the baby face. Take the bump, get right back up.
Yeah,
and. Because Barry's a tall drink of water.
Yeah.
And he's putting on some size and muscle this time. So Barry Windham drop kick to Bob Eaton. He goes down. Barry Windham's drop kick to Dennis Condrey. He goes down. Bobby pops right back. He's ready for another.
Yeah.
There's like 5 or 6. And they're just like, are we going to get you? Like if that had been a house show, they would have done 2 more and Barry would have been like, fuck you.
There's some killer in ring with this match, specifically Bobby Eaton and Barry Windham.
Yeah.
Two of the top workers ever.
Yeah.
And definitely this time, Crockett Promotions. But the point of this match is the angle at the end.
Well, hold on. Prior to the angle,
okay.
Who's your favorite Midnight Express?
Well, that's one thing I wanted to mention. So this incarnation of the Midnight Express is Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey.
Yes.
And this is actually one of the last times we see Dennis Condrey in ring on TV for sure, because he just up and split right after this. There will be a couple of promo segments without Jim Cornette on World Championship Wrestling and the syndicated shows on the following week after this, because Jim Cornette is suspended due to his actions that we're getting ready to talk about. But and so Dennis Condrey is getting ready to be gone, replaced by Sweet Stan Lane.
Yeah.
And your question is, which one?
What's your favorite?
Which do I like better?
Which one is better, and which one is your favorite?
Man, I don't know. It's
because I feel like those are two separate answers.
I think at the time when Stan Lane came in, I was like, oh, he's like way cooler. Like as a kid, he's way cooler. He's younger. He does the fake karate stuff.
Redneck Roddy.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And Dennis Condrey just like looked old, and so and
he was probably 28.
Yeah. And I thought Stan Lane made Bobby Eaton look cooler, whereas with Bobby and Dennis together, they just kind of looked more fucked up and like, So as a kid, I was like, oh, the new guy, Sweet Stan Lane, like that unit of the Midnight Express, and they're the ones that won all. Like Bobby and Dennis won the World Tag Team title once, but Bobby and Stan won the U.S. Tag titles 2 different times, and then at one point they held the U.S. Tag titles and the World Tag Team title simultaneously. So like they're definitely the most decorated one. But like looking back now,
ain't they the cooler the tag team of Sweet Stan and Beautiful Bobby? They had the Vegematic and all
they really had the tag team maneuvers, the Vegematic, the double goozle, the flapjack.
Yeah,
So
whereas
all that
Bobby and Dennis just had the rocket launcher.
Yeah. But then Stan and Bobby had the rocket launcher as well.
Yeah, but
which became the cornerstone to their feud with the Fantastics. But that will be something we'll talk about later on. Yeah. To answer your question, when I was a kid, Stan Lane, looking back on it now, I kind of like realized the greatness of Dennis Condrey. So there's that. How do you feel?
I think my favorite was Sweet Stan Beautiful Bobby, but the better was Loverboy Dennis. And I think that's a good answer. Like it's like okay.
Well, and also if you look from where they came from, because they originated in Mid-South, later they were never there when it became UWF. They had already left, Mid-South. But they originated in Mid-South, and the teaming of Dennis and Bobby served that territory better than I think Stan and Bobby would, because Dennis brought that rugged quality to the Midnight Express. And if you ever watch 5 minutes of Mid-South TV, you're gonna hear Bill Watts say the word rugged about 10 times. He liked them rugged, and he was the booker. Whereas for the new, especially we're talking about 1987 when Stan Lane comes in, Crockett Promotions, NWA has a higher visibility higher media visibility. They're starting to do pay-per-views. They're doing the big cable shows. They've got a massive syndication coverage. Stan Lane definitely was more ready for TV.
Well, wrestling as a whole became more of a cosmetic business.
For sure.
Thanks to Vince.
Yeah. So leave your answer in the comments, ladies and gentlemen, as
which
to
one's
who
your favorite?
favorite formation of the Midnight Express was. So anyway, Barry Windham sells his
Randy Rhodes is not acceptable.
not acceptable. Barry Windham sells his fucking ass off, gets the hot tag.
Oh, yeah.
See what I did there? Gets the hot tag to Ron Garvin, who comes in, House of Fire.
Sure.
And, he's peppering Dennis Condrey.
I love that Ronnie Garvin's finishing move is the hand of stone. It's just
the knockout punch. Yeah.
So the whole time, if you get in the ring with Ronnie Garvin, he just gives you these
the open hand slap.
The open hand.
Why wouldn't he just punch a guy in the head?
I know. Like he's literally setting you up for 4 minutes with open hand slaps so he can do that.
Why wouldn't he just punch you in the head?
Yeah.
So he comes in and gives him
gives
him the double noggin knocker, sets Condrey up, throws him into the ropes, backdrop. That's the setup for the knockout punch for the hands of stone. Nails it.
That's it.
Should be it. Covers 1, 2. Bobby Eaton comes in for the save.
Yep.
Barry Windham comes back into the ring to confront Bobby Eaton, and it's a melee. And then
Big Bubba's somehow involved.
Big Bubba's out there. Jim Cornette comes to the ring and throws fire.
Yeah.
He puts his hands together, and then a fireball just emanates magically from his hands, engulfing the head and face of Hands of Stone Ron Garvin, who immediately falls to the ring, convulsing wildly in pain.
Is that the first time you saw fire?
That's the first time. I had read about people throwing fire, and I might have seen a picture of Jerry Lawler throwing fire.
I was about to say, they love that.
Down in Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah.
Memphis, Tennessee, their Amazon warehouse had a huge supply of flash paper.
And Jim Cornette, of course.
And it used to be a lot harder to find flash paper back in the day.
They're from the Tennessee territory originally, but it makes a lot of sense for him to do it. But it is that's the first time I had ever seen it, and it blew my fucking mind.
Oh, yeah.
Blew my fucking mind. Now, before we get to the rest of what happens, we're going to give a little context for this match and this television program in reality, in our reality of when this thing originally aired. And I remember vividly.
Sure, same.
The day that this aired on television.
I was at my dad's.
In February. Well, you were skipping school, brother. Because in Danville, Virginia, where we grew up, if you had a certain amount of days that you missed for snow days, you had to go to school on Saturday.
I did not.
This show aired on a day where we had school on Saturday. And I went to school fucking mad that I was going to be missing wrestling. But you know what? It's NWA Pro Wrestling. It's the show that comes on at noon on Saturdays. You know, the big stuff usually happens on Worldwide or World Championship Wrestling. Nothing really ever happens on NWA Pro. My dad picked me up from school that day. And before I even asked what happened on wrestling, he was like, "You're not going to believe what happened on wrestling today." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah." And then, of course, I taped it.
Okay, you taped it. Okay.
And went home and watched it. And I was like, "Oh." I mean, still, I got to see it, but I was like, I can't believe I missed seeing this live.
Yeah. No, my folks are just like, it was.
You're not going to school on Saturday.
Well, it was an inconvenience to them.
Yeah. We got our weekend sort of planned out.
We got shit to do, kid, and you're not a part of it. Packing your lunch or whatever. Yeah. Like making sure the door's unlocked.
There we go. Rich kid, poor kid over here. I had to go to school. So what are your memories of seeing this?
I remember being at my dad's and I was just like, the big thing for me, like the fire was huge because I had never seen fire before.
Yeah.
But the big thing for me is, so the fireball's thrown. The good guys come. The Rock and Roll Express come out there because they're
every babyface locker room.
Brad Armstrong comes out there. Tim.
We saw Ricky Gibson, the Robert Gibson's brother, was out there.
Tim Horton, or not Tim Horton. Tim Horton coffee. Everybody's drinking coffee.
White Light and Tim Horner.
White Light and Tim Horner. So they're. But Jimmy Garvin comes out there.
Okay, so this is what ends up happening. So there's a melee in the ring, mass confusion. Everybody's trying to attend to Ronnie Garvin. And then all of a sudden...
And doing very good at covering up his face.
Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden, chicken shit heel supreme, gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, who had been in the territory for a while at this point.
Yeah. Sharpdress man. I mean, every week talks about how everybody's poor, how he's beautiful. You got Precious spraying the
air freshener. Yeah, he had feuded with Wahoo McDaniel when he entered, but never really went up the card except for going back to the Magnum TA thing. When Magnum TA had his car wreck before Starrcade '86, they were having a program.
Yeah,
they were having a program. So I think that would have been Magnum TA's Starrcade match, and that would have been elevating Jimmy Garvin.
Yeah.
Magnum TA gets hurt. Jimmy Garvin is like, okay, well,
what are we doing? They're like, we got you, brother. Just relax.
Just hang out and wait till we do this angle, and then you're going to be super huge. Jimmy Garvin runs into the ring with the towel
and Precious
wraps Ronnie Garvin up. Now, this entire time that both of these guys with the last name Garvin had been coexisting in the same territory, never addressed.
And truth be told, it was probably 10 years later when I was just like, were they even related?
They come to find out, Ronnie Garvin was Jimmy Garvin's stepdad. Yeah, which is wild to think about. So here's good. And when I went back, because in my mind, because the commentary is so bad.
Yeah, I know. Johnny Weaver telling us nothing.
I actually had it in my head that the sentence was uttered. What? Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin? What's gorgeous Jimmy Garvin doing in there with Ronnie Garvin? What, and actually saying both of their last names together. But Johnny Weaver does squeak out a "What's Jimmy Garvin doing there?" And then I think even it dawns on Johnny Weaver that like, oh wow, that sounds really stupid, So anyway, they take Ronnie Garvin back to the back, and this is taking place at the Charlotte Coliseum.
Yeah, and cameras are following.
As they would.
Yeah,
they would. They get Ronnie Garvin back in the in the locker room,
the babyface locker room,
the locker room area, and
collapses.
Jimmy Garvin is inconsolable, and he must have revenge right now. And so what he does, he busts through the fucking plywood door, and Bob Caudle spills the fucking beans, because if he hadn't fucking opened his mouth, it would have been like, well, where is he going? The camera follows him. Bob Caudle immediately says, he's going over the other dressing room.
He's going to the bad guys.
He's going to the other dressing room.
Because back in the day,
they had to have it split.
The good guys were in one dressing room, bad guys were in another.
Kayfabe, brother.
And if you needed to tell somebody something, you'd send a message to the other.
The referees would go back and forth.
Yeah.
So he goes running over and fucking bull tackles Jim Cornette. He's all over him. And
white on rice.
And all the heels are just standing around.
Like, what the fuck?
So Jimmy Garvin is incensed. And then they pull him off. Him and Precious get Ronnie Garvin, still towel wrapped around his head, get him loaded in the back of their Mercedes.
Oh yeah,
which is interesting, because if you know anything about Jimmy Garvin, that you learn later on, he was notoriously cheap, and they would always rent like the most economy car. So for this particular thing, they were like, "Nah, baby." Duff was like, "Nah, baby, you're gonna be."
I'm sure it's Dusty's car.
It's probably
There's no way it's
take my car, baby.
Yeah. So no, it's like a 300 SEL.
Yeah.
Like a 1984.
It's a super nice Mercedes. So they load him up, and they take, and then that's it. That's all we see.
Well, no, they go to leave, And the camera's there, and there's the
barrier.
The barrier.
Jimmy Garvin's got to get out, move the barricade.
The barrier. They're recording all, and that's what I loved about it, because WWE even at that time would have had it all worked out. It looked, but I loved the fact that the barrier was still there, and Jimmy Garvin just
it was really happening.
Yeah,
I mean, Ronnie Garvin had just been burned within an inch of his life,
probably
on
dead,
syndicated national television, and it is a medical emergency. As a kid, this is one of that layer, imperceptible to a kid watching wrestling, but now you look back and it's like but it had an impact, and the impact was, this shit is real.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my opinion of NWA
why
wrestling.
Is the bad guy helping the good guy?
Yeah.
Why is the bad guy attacking another bad guy?
Yeah.
No turn, there was no setup.
Yeah, no, it's family.
Yeah.
It's family. And this led,
we don't spoil too much.
So what you would expect is, this would lead to, a big tag team, sort of feud back and forth with Ron Garvin and his new partner of his brother, Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, against the Midnight Express. But like I said, right after this, Condrey pisses off.
Yeah.
And so they lost a little bit of time, and just with that little bit of time and it wasn't much. I think there was like a week when there wasn't a Midnight Express on TV, but they had to get Cornette gets suspended and stays gone for like a month. And then when he shows back up, maybe it was only 2 weeks, shows back up with Stan Lane, and there's, what happened to Dennis Condrey? And just the whole thing.
There's a disconnect.
It kind of lost momentum from what you would think would be a super fiery start. And eventually it gets blown off in a cage match back in Charlotte, North Carolina, with Ron Garvin and Jim Cornette in a steel cage. And they never showed footage of it on TV, and it just, and Barry Windham went on to his series of matches with Ric Flair, and Jimmy Garvin did go up the card, and eventually that summer would feud with Ric Flair for the World Heavyweight title, and also Precious, but that would be a story for another time. But if you haven't seen this match and this angle, I mean, hands down, the best fire throwing angle I've ever seen.
It's no Hulk Hogan and
or Chris Jericho circa 2021 AEW. What was the Hogan one?
Was it Hogan? Yokozuna maybe? Hogan Yokozuna.
I checked out by then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was right around 94. My Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah. You gotta go. Yeah. We're gonna surprise our fans with your new addition.
We'll do that one next week.
Yeah. Well, your new addition.
I gotta buy another stool. So everybody do a super chat so we can see a pinball table.
Super confusing closing. Much like the closing to our match of the week this week.
Yeah.
But we're gonna sign off. You're gonna be gone. Fairplay's got some globe trotting to get to.
Yeah, I'm heading to London on Thursday, and then taking a train down over to Scotland, and then
take in some footy while you're over there.
Yeah, catching a little footy, getting a couple kits, and enjoying a couple pints, getting a kilt. You know why they call it a kilt?
Why's that?
Called a skirt. You get kilt.
There it is.
There we go. So, but I'm back next Wednesday. So, if I can catch some wrestling in between,
okay,
maybe
we'll be here.
Maybe Thursday,
or maybe a delayed episode next week. Who knows? But, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you're digging what we're doing here on Wrestling After Show, please throw a like on the video. Subscribe to the Reality After Show channel, which we are a part of the Reality After Show YouTube family. If you're listening to us on Spotify or any of the podcasting platforms, leave a review, leave a comment on this video. What was your favorite incarnation of the Midnight Express? Or what do you think about this shirt? What do you think about this shirt? What do you think about anything at all?
Yeah.
Leave it in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. engage with us because we would so much enjoy to engage with you. Until that engagement occurs, wrestling fans, this is Jonny Fairplay, and I'm Heath Haynes. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wrestling After Show, and we'll see you at the matches.